What's going on, everybody? It is that time again. The Sooners Illustrated podcast, episode 227 on this Monday, November the 17th, 2025. Josh Callaway, Tom Green here with you. Oh my God. Oklahoma beat Alabama again on Saturday. We were in Tuscaloosa. It was unbelievable. We'll get into all of it. How Oklahoma pulled off the signature win, the defining moment, defining win, however you want to term it, of the Brent Venables era, and what it means going forward. We're going to break it all apart after a massive, massive win. It's a post-game reaction Monday, and it's a very happy one. As Oklahoma, just an all-time win out in Alabama. We'll get into all of it on the show today. Before we get started, a reminder, as always, you can subscribe to Sooners Illustrated at oklahoma.247sports.com. Use the promo code SoonersPod60, all one word for listening on podcast. Get you 60% off a VIP membership for a year to Sooners Illustrated and the entire 24/7 Sports Network. Come be a part of the community. Hang out with us. The vibes are great right now over on Sooners Illustrated with our VIP members. So come be a part of it and be along for the rest of the ride for what could be a long postseason. Who knows, right? We'll get into it on the show today, but jump in with us. Use that promo code. Take advantage of a great deal to Sooners Illustrated. Again, the entire 24/7 Sports Network. All right, Tom, let's get into it. Wow. What a win for Oklahoma. I mean, to go out there and to do this was special. Obviously, just 2 weeks after we debated it then, was that the best win under Brent, getting the win in Knoxville. 2 weeks later, this is definitely it. To go beat this top 5 Alabama team. We didn't think they could do it in Knoxville. They did it. We didn't think they would do it in Tuscaloosa, and they did it again. Just an unbelievably special win, 23-21 over the Crimson Tide. First thought for you that comes to just unbelievable. You can't say enough about what this team managed to accomplish, finding a way to get this thing done. A massive win for Oklahoma on Saturday.
Yeah, first thought is this might be the best win for any team in the country this season.
It's up there.
Because obviously you look at the top 3 teams are undefeated right now. And number 4 was Alabama. And Oklahoma just went into Alabama's house and really mucked it up and grinded out a win. Alabama, like we talked about, 17-game win streak at home coming into that, longest home winning streak in the country. They'd won 43 of their last 45 at home. They hadn't lost a homecoming game since 2001.
Crazy.
When Nick Saban was coaching LSU, they lost. So they have not lost a homecoming game on the field named after Nick Saban since Nick Saban was the opposing coach, which is just crazy to think about. But yeah, like you said, signature win of the Brent Venables era, now in back-to-back games. Oklahoma with 4 top 25 AP wins this season, which I believe is tied with Alabama for the most in the country. It's a strong resume. Obviously, you had those 2 losses, but to go in there just knowing what's on the line and to just, like I said, grind it out. And like Brent Venables said, it was a slugfest. And it was
which is how Oklahoma wants to play.
Yeah. They want to drag you down in the mud and, get grimy with it. And they did it in this one.
Just so impressive. And just like in Knoxville, they fall behind the third quarter and it feels like maybe it's slipping a little and they just respond. And we're going to get into the defense obviously here in just a second because it was a masterclass, especially in the second half of this game. But I'm just impressed by the team's overall ability to just stay in the fight and to just keep battling. They're just like in Knoxville. The game's played out kind of very similarly a lot of the way, where it looks bleak for a little while, but they just keep making the plays and you look up and they get it done in the end. Really, really just you can't say enough. And it does feel like it's cheesy and it's corny, but it feels like this team just has like a special sauce. Like they just have something. And it feels like it's finally turned in that. And it's only been 2 games, so like the Ole Miss game happened not that long ago, right? But it feels like we've finally turned the corner where you kind of feel like at the end of these games, like Oklahoma's going to do what it takes to win, where it was the other way for really the last 4 years. Like in a close game, it kind of felt like what stupid thing are they going to do to lose this? And it's crazy. I said this on the instant reaction with Colin on Saturday night. Like for the longest time, it was Oklahoma would play so well, but they had these big glaring errors, and it would be what cost them in the end. And right now, these last 2 games, it's the opposite. Like, it's not perfect. It's pretty ugly at times, especially offensively. They give up some drives here and there, but they're making the huge plays that are making all the difference. Turnover battle 3-0 in this game, and they were all massive. They were all huge. They needed all of them. Special teams is great. We're going to get all of this, but it's just they're just doing the big thing. It was like for the longest time, it was the little things were killing them, and now it's like they're doing the big things right, and it's what's the difference. This team is just, again, cheesy, but that Sooner Magic thing, it feels like they just have a way these last couple of games to just do it. It's unreal. It's unreal if they top the Tennessee win the next time out, because it's not many teams have gone in Knoxville and Tuscaloosa in the same year, let alone back-to-back in November and won games like this. It's amazing. Really, it is. It's amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, look, we saw it on the shirts after the game. The team wore the shirts on the flight to Alabama, but on the front it said "hard to kill." On the back it said "enough is enough." They decided after that Ole Miss game that, hey, enough is enough. Like, when are they going to kind of, we heard Brent Venables after the Tennessee game talk about, like, when are you going to restore, like, the respect to the front of that jersey? Just like what the program has been, like, when are you going to get back to that? And these guys have decided that, hey, it's time to step it up. And like we saw against Tennessee, we saw it again in this one. Like, they are hard to kill. I wrote about it after the game, but Kalen DeBoer's black hoodie of death was no match for a team that's just hard to kill right now. And look, credit to Oklahoma, because there were moments in that game where it felt like it was going to slip away.
Yeah.
I guess Alabama scored touchdowns on 3 out of 4 drives there between the second and third quarters. The one drive that they didn't score on in that stretch was the blocked field goal right before halftime. Shout out to Taylor Wine for that one. I'm sure we'll dive into that later.
Yeah.
But after that third touchdown drive by Alabama to take the lead, it felt like things might be slipping away, because that drive, it was 75 yards and 60 something of those yards came on 3 explosive plays.
Yeah.
Actually, I think 74 of the 75 yards came on 3 explosive plays. It was like a 20-yard run, or a 20-yard pass, a 28-yard pass, and a 28-yard run, or something like that. So it was, they were playing with fire there for a moment. But, man, credit to the defense for the way they responded after that touchdown. And, just coming down the stretch and playing really tough ball, even when the offense, like you said, wasn't quite doing a whole lot, did just enough to get them in scoring range. But you talk about those little mistakes that this team has, like, so often made. On that last drive before Alabama's last drive, it's like they're in field goal range. They get a false start. They get an intentional grounding, and all of a sudden they're out of field goal range.
Field goal range, yeah.
In a strange way, it might have, like, benefited them, because Grayson Miller comes out and pins Alabama at the 6-yard line. And Alabama's got to go, pretty far just to get in their own field goal range. But again, like, credit to this team for just grinding it out and not being afraid to back down in another team's house like that.
This defense, where we got to go to start, obviously. They shut out Alabama. Alabama takes the lead in this game. It's about 7.5 minutes-ish to go in the third quarter, 21-20. They did not score again. That's over 22 minutes of shutout football on the road in Tuscaloosa. They turned over Alabama, which is really the main reason I didn't pick Oklahoma to win the game. I said in the game preview on Friday was they're probably going to need turnovers to win this game, and Alabama didn't turn the ball over. Ty Simpson had 1 interception coming in. You could get them with the strip sacks. We talked about that. That had been a little bit of a problem for the Crimson Tide, the last month or so. But for the most part, it's an Alabama team that took care of the football. And 3 ginormous turnovers. The first one, obviously, Eli Bowen, 87-yard pick six. Just like R. Mason in Knoxville, a gigantic defensive touchdown in the first quarter that, Bama's going in to at least tie the game and maybe take the lead, and instead it's 10-0 on just a humongous play. And then, you get, obviously, the Jaden Hardy punch-out, which was a sensational play on special teams. Special teams was incredible. We'll get into that in a minute. That results in a touchdown, the John Mathieu touchdown run, and then the Taylor Wine strip sack puts in the lead with the field goal early in the fourth quarter. Tom, the defense is just unbelievable. I mean, it really is. I don't know how else to put it. It's just the fact that this defense is talked about nationally as maybe the best in the country. It's amazing. And they did this without our Mason Thomas. They did this without Gentry Williams, who was a late scratch in the week. And we did the game preview. We recorded that on Wednesday. Everything was looking good. All of a sudden, he pops up as doubtful. He got injured during the week, and they don't have him. And Jaden Jackson is limping around pregame. He's not 100%. And it just doesn't matter. It's amazing what this defense is able to do. And we said it, like, they're going to move the ball, right? Ty Simpson's really good. They have all these great receivers. They have a great tight end and Cuevas who hurt them. But the final 22 plus minutes with the offense giving them little to nothing, they just shut them out and win the game. It's what can you say, man? This defense is just amazing. And we said it, this defense is going to have a chance to win every game. And here you go. Even on the road against a top 5 team and the offense isn't playing well, they still win because the defense is just that good. Yeah,
I mean, let's start with those final 22 minutes. Like you said, you look at those drives, it's 3 and out, fumble, 3 and out, and then, that final drive in the last 7.5 minutes of the game where Alabama gets near midfield. They convert that 4th down right before the 2-minute warning. They come out of that 2-minute warning, and Kip Lewis is just fired up, gets a huge sack on Ty Simpson on 1st down, and Alabama's got to go 22 yards to pick it up. They pick up a good chunk of it on 3rd down, but then Peyton Bowen gets the 4th down stop, pass break up there on the pass intended for Ryan Williams, which would have been short of the line to gain anyway. But credit to Peyton Bowen for making a break on that and getting in there, making sure that Ryan Williams did not have a chance. And they get a 4th down stop to end the game. So it's 3 and out, fumble, 3 and out, 4th down stop. And this is what Brent Venables has envisioned for this defense. They've been lights out all season. Obviously, teams have driven in on them at times. But a lot of it's about, not letting teams finish drives. And they did that in this one. Obviously, the Eli Bowen turnover was huge because Alabama was, approaching the red zone there.
It's at least a 10-point flip, if not 14-point flip.
Yeah, it's huge. The other turnovers, one of them obviously was on special teams, but then, Taylor Wine's strip sack there, he just came through and just clobbered Ty Simpson. I think that's 5 straight games now that Ty Simpson has lost a fumble, and it's something that Oklahoma was very aware of going into the game, that if you can get him, if you can get him in the backfield, you have a chance to knock that ball loose. And they took him down 4 times. I think they had 4 sacks in this one. Not a lot of tackles for loss for Oklahoma in this game. And, part of that is because of just how much Alabama was passing the ball. But, they made the most of it with the 4 sacks. And, this defense is, lights out. And the big thing for them is what they weren't getting early in the season is the turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
And now they've got 8 over their last 4 games, 6 over the last 2. Back-to-back games with 3 turnovers and a defensive touchdown. I mentioned this to you after the game, but I was able to look it up after all the Week 12 games finally went final, see where Oklahoma ranked. So they're 99th in the country now in forced turnovers.
Moving up.
They're tied for 8th in defensive touchdowns.
Unbelievable.
It's just this weird quirk, statistical anomaly of this, but they're making the most of these turnovers, and they're coming at the right time now. We talked to all the guys after the game, and Taylor Wine's yeah, man, they come in bunches. They're finally getting it. And I know they've emphasized it a little bit more than they were early in the season. And that streak of 4 straight games to start the year without a turnover was really getting to them. But now that switch has seemingly been flipped, and these guys are, circling like sharks.
It's crazy. I mean, the floodgates have opened with the turnovers, and it's this is why it was so puzzling that they weren't getting them early, because these turnovers, and there's a sentiment that turnovers are kind of random, and I get that because there is a bit of a randomness to them at times.
Yeah,
but all 3 of these were Oklahoma just being really good on defense. The first one, Kip Lewis is coming screaming bat out of hell and forced Ty Simpson to hurry the throw. That's what led to the interception for Eli Bowen. He houses it. Obviously, the Jaden Hardy, just a perfect punch out of the football. It wasn't an accident. Taylor Wine blows up Ty Simpson. These are just good defensive plays that are resulting in the turnovers and flipping the games. And I continue to be extremely impressed by 2 main things with the defense. The first being that despite being put in horrible spots pretty often, they just always respond. We talked about all year with when Oklahoma turns it over. They didn't do that in this game. But, there was a sequence where, they score to go up 21-20, Alabama. The offense comes right out, moves the ball a little, but punts. Mm-hmm. The defense gets another stop. Then the offense goes 3 and out. They give the ball back again. And that's when Taylor Wine gets a strip sack. They just keep answering the bell over and over and over. And the other thing that continues to blow me away is just the sheer volume of players that are making plays. It's crazy. I mean, you peruse the box score, just try and make sure you don't forget anyone, because you have your obvious ones. I mean, Kip Lewis was phenomenal again, right? I mean, and we talk about Taylor Wine, has the blocked field goal, the big strip sack. He was sensational. But it's like you go down the list and it's like Cortland Guillory was great. Eli Bowen, the pick six. Obviously, Peyton Bowen, the PB at the end. Owen Heineke makes some big plays. Reggie Powers is pounding people. Jaden Hardy, the punch out we just mentioned. Davon Jordan gets a huge sack in this game. Like, you just go down the list. It's just absurd how many guys have their fingerprints on this. Like, it's like 20, 25 deep of dudes that you feel like they had a big play in the game somewhere. That's why Oklahoma won. It's just, the depth is just unbelievable. And these are, for the most part, I mean, the vast majority are guys that they recruited and guys that they developed. And it's just a credit to Brent Venables and his staff. It's incredible. It's astonishing, because it's just how far it's come. And the young guys making plays, they got Cole McKenzie back in this game. I don't know. It's really just unbelievable to watch. And it's special. It's a special defense. It is. And it's crazy that it's talked about as maybe the best in the country, and hard to argue because look at what they're doing every single week in tough spots against great teams. And they just, it's, I don't know what else to say. Yeah. Defensively, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, like, on the turnover front, like, yes, a lot of it is effort. Like, they're peppering the ball. They're getting after the quarterback, forcing them into mistakes. But there is an element of luck. Like, when you do force a fumble, it's just like, at the end of the day, it's an oblong ball. Like, it's going to take weird bounces.
Sure.
Like we saw there in the first quarter, like the play before Eli Bowen's pick six.
Oh,
Reggie Powers forces a fumble. Kobe McKenzie tries to scoop it up instead of falling on it.
Just fall on it, man.
Alabama recovers it for a first down. And you're like, oh, man, like, can Oklahoma catch a break? And the very next snap, Eli Bowen, picks it off and houses it. But you look back earlier in the season, like, they had so many opportunities where, interception was thrown right to their hands and they just couldn't hold on to it. Mm-hmm. I keep thinking back to that Auburn game, the SEC opener, like Peyton Bowen just absolutely darted through and had his eyes on that Jackson Earl throw and would have had a pick six, but he just can't corral it. It feels like they've had just so many of those plays where the ball just bounced off their hands or took a bounce one way on a fumble, and it was just not going their way earlier this season. Things have kind of evened out here late in the year, and we've seen them kind of, bear fruit to that labor.
I obviously want to get into the offense and kind of what we think of where that side of the ball is right now and kind of what they did on Saturday. But I do want to make sure to give the shine to the special teams unit, the third phase of the ball. It's amazing. We did the post-game show on Monday after the Michigan game, and one of our little graphics there that I made up was, is special teams a concern long-term? Because it was bad in that game, and it almost burned them, right? They were having penalties and muff punts, and they missed a field goal in that Michigan game, which feels like a lifetime ago now. The special teams basically played borderline perfect. Tate Sendell, again, unbelievable. Hits another 52-yarder in this game, which you can just set your clock to him making a 50-yarder in a big game. I said it on Friday. They're probably going to need him to make a big kick. He made a big kick. He's got the longest streak in the country right now. Still has not missed since the Michigan game. Which is the longest streak in SEC history. Is that what they said?
Second longest.
21 in a row now, I think.
21 in a row.
Unbelievable.
And he had the game winner.
Isaiah Satania, the punt return, got it started offensively. A great return out to about the 30 that got him their first points of the game. You have Grayson Miller, you mentioned it earlier, pins him deep at the end of the game. Taylor Wine blocks the field goal. Like, the special team, Jaden Hardy with the punch out. Like, the special teams was dominated by Oklahoma in this game. That third phase of the game, the hidden yardage of the game, as Brent Venables talked about post-game, Doug Deacon, man, take a bow, because that unit, that third phase of the game, which for a long time for Oklahoma in the previous regime was kind of ignored, frankly, and then has been kind of a problem for Oklahoma the last few years and has really burned them at times, right now is a massive strength. They've taken a weakness and turned it into a strength. The special teams unit, in a lot of ways, won Oklahoma this game. I mean, there were so many huge plays on that area. It's kind of incredible what they're doing in that phase of the game right now.
Yeah, I think Brent Venables has talked about it earlier in the year, but like when they were like doing an off-season review and like seeing like where they were in terms of efficiencies, like the teams that were ahead of them in special teams efficiency were teams that made the playoff and like competed for the national championship. And now you're seeing this unit under Doug Deacon kind of take this next step toward doing what you need to do to compete, late in the season. They don't win this game without special teams. They don't win the Tennessee game without special teams, obviously. But yeah, it's just remarkable that they had to play pretty much in every phase on special teams in this one. Tate Sandell accounting for 11 of their 23 points. 3 field goals, 2 extra points.
Yeah.
Obviously, gets the scoring started on that opening drive, gets the game winner there at the start of the fourth quarter. Enough can't be said about him. I mean, 7 for 7 on kicks of 50 plus yards now. That's just insane.
Doesn't make sense. Yeah. And that 52-yarder was right down the middle.
Yeah,
by the way. They could have made the goalpost 4 times more narrow, and he still hit. That was money.
Like an arena league goalpost.
Yes, exactly.
Grayson Miller, solid for much of the game, but certainly that last punt to pin Alabama at their own 6-yard line and make them pretty much go the distance because, if you're Alabama, you probably wanted a touchdown there because you don't really trust Connor Talty at this point, probably. And then speaking of, Taylor Wine's field goal block, like in a 2-point game, a game that's decided by 2 points, to block a field goal that, again, probably would have been wide anyway, but to get his hand on there and also to leap over 2 offensive linemen, the long snapper and the right guard, and to do so without drawing a penalty for
not a running start. Yeah.
Like, didn't get a running start, got kind of between the gap of the 2, jumped, and then put his hands on them to kind of like give himself a little bit of landing room, and to have the wherewithal to just kind of stick his paw out and get his fingertips on that. Again, like in a game decided by 2 points, making sure that they don't get 3 points that would have tied the game going into halftime and giving them a little bit of momentum. That is huge to preserve that lead so that Oklahoma can come out to start the second half and set up that 52-yarder for Tate Sandell. Just, again, special teams huge. Doug Deacon deserves like all the praise that he's been getting of late.
Yeah, unbelievable. Tate Sandell, man, what a story. Still hasn't missed since that first kick, and it's just funny because I remember everyone, down in the field, kind of the murmurs in the stadium and talking to other people when he misses that first one of like, oh my God, another guy who comes in and can't make a big kick, and he has not missed since then. Just unbelievable story, and
grows at him,
dude. How does he not win it? How does he not? He's perfect. Literally, I mean, I don't know what else you need to do to win it, if not what he's done. Unbelievable year for Tate Sandell. So with the offense. So this game, basically the way I kind of described it was, this was basically the embodiment of what we kind of said all offseason and last year at times, where we were basically like, if the offense could just not lose them games, they'd have a chance to win. That's basically what the offense did in this game. They didn't turn it over. No turnovers. Now, they were close. John Mateer had a couple passes that easily could have been intercepted, almost to a pick 6 in the first half of this game, but he didn't. Right? He didn't. No interceptions, no fumbles, no turnovers, period. And then the flip side, they didn't really ever drive the ball that much. The first drive of the second half, they were able to move it to at least get Sandell into field goal range.
Yeah, they got two 20-yard plays from Isaiah Satania on that drive to get him into range.
That was when Mateer had the really nice, probably his best throw of the day, when he had some pressure and he put it on Satania on 3rd and long.
Yeah.
But obviously, for the most part, the offense didn't do much, but they didn't turn over, and then they capitalized on the short fields. Like, obviously, the defense had the pick 6, but the other turnovers, the Lewine strip sack, the Hardy punch out, they scored a touchdown off the Hardy punch out, and then they got the field goal off the Wine strip sack to put them in the lead. So, like, they were able to capitalize on the turnovers, which last year, when we talked about it, like the Tennessee game comes to mind, where they got those big turnovers, and the offense just threw up on itself and wasn't able to take advantage of it. This was basically the entire opposite of that. The offense didn't do a whole lot. They couldn't really run the ball too much in this game. Well, they ended up with 34 yards from Xavier Robinson was the lead man. They were 2.6 yards per carry. Mateer 15 to 23 for 138, right? I mean, they didn't have a lot offensively. They had a few big plays. And again, they just no turnovers, and they were able to capitalize on the short fields that the defense gave them. And when the defense is doing this, that was kind of enough. How would you sort of assess the offense and where it is right now? Because I think OU fans are trying to figure out how to feel about it. Because like Mateer's making plays. The 20-yard touchdown run was incredible.
Yeah.
And again, no turnovers, no back-breaking mistakes. They did have the like you said, the false or intentional grinding, which cost them a field goal. That's not a turnover, but kind of feels like one. But they did enough, right? They did just enough to get over that hump. Where are you at with Mateer in this offense right now?
I think Mateer has been playing better these last couple games.
Yeah.
He's been more efficient. Certainly he's looked more comfortable running the ball. Again, that 20-yard touchdown run was
really nice.
Really impressive. Just kind of spun his way through a few defenders there down toward the goal line. So you like to see that. Obviously, the knee is not bothering him like it was early in the season.
Sure.
15 of 23, that, good efficiency. But, they have not been great on third down these last couple games. And again, 212 yards of total offense. I mean, that's their fewest in a win since the Texas game in 2001. When they had 206 yards of offense. You like that they're not turning it over, obviously, especially with the way the defense is kind of turned on that faucet there. But I think like to get, not necessarily to even get to the playoff, because I think, again, this defense is good enough to do what it needs to put Oklahoma in a position to win these next two games.
Sure.
If you're talking about winning a playoff game, this offense needs to do more. Again, I think it's promising that Mateer looks more comfortable in the pocket right now than he did, those first few games after surgery. So it might just be a matter of time. You do wonder, Xavier Robinson got a little banged up. He came back in, but just wasn't as effective in this one. So you do wonder, like, what's he going to look like? I think one of the things that was really promising, though, is Jermichael Carter's come on and made a few big plays.
Yeah.
Not explosive plays, but some timely catches to help them move the chains a couple times. Javonte Gibson had a couple moments there. But really the thing that impressed me the most was, you look at what the offensive line did in this one. The pass protection was great for Mateer. He was sacked twice. I don't think any of the offensive linemen were actually credited with, giving up a sack. I think they allowed just, a couple pressures total in this game, according to Pro Football Focus. So you like that development, but I think that you just need to be able to execute a little bit more on offense to be a contender. Not necessarily to make the playoff, but to make some noise in the playoff. You're going to need to do more again, just with the way this defense is playing and the way the special teams are playing, you need some more from your offense. But again, 212 yards, Brent Venables talked about, the hidden yardage. You add in
a lot of short fields.
Yeah, some short fields, the 87-yard pick six, the 42-yard punt return, that kind of gets you around 325 yards there, like when you're adding everything up. So it's not like Oklahoma wasn't moving the ball in some capacity. It's just the offense wasn't moving the ball as efficiently as you'd kind of like to at this point of the year. Yeah,
I still really like John Mateer. I get he's not a perfect quarterback, but he just has like kind of that it, and that touchdown run was awesome. And, he's going to lay it all out there to try and win the game, which you really should appreciate that. He's not a perfect player. He still has a lot of work to do. And that's why I think he's probably going to be back with his team next year, which I think is a good thing. It's a good thing to have him
continuity
back. Yeah. Like, how nice would that be? Have Arbuckle and Mateer back again for year two. Cause obviously, I don't need to remind anyone how horrendous this was last year offensively. It's still a hell of a lot better than it was a year ago. Like, they can still do something. Like you said, it was nice to see Javonte Gibson, Jermichael Carter. We talked about that. Like, nobody has really stepped up without Keontae Lewis. And Keontae Lewis warmed up. He played one snap, didn't really play, didn't get a target. It was nice to see those two guys step in and make some plays. Javonte Gibson had a couple big catches late. Like you said, Carter, Satania, again, some nice plays as per usual. Burks had a couple early. But it's just nice to see some other guys step up. They got Jaren Kanak, involved again a little bit. And, they just, again, didn't have the big mistakes at least and took advantage of the short fields. And, they got some points on the board. I honestly thought, I said, on Friday what my key was in the red zone. And I if you had told me before the game that they were going to have it first and goal and settle for field goals twice, I would have thought, that's not great. But, again, defense was good enough that was enough, because early in the game after that Satania punt return to not finish that felt like a win for Alabama. And then certainly when they only could go up 2, that felt like a win. And then the offense has a chance to, if they score a touchdown, basically put the game away, but at least push it to 5 to force Alabama to need a touchdown. They weren't able to do that, So it's like the defense just keeps getting put with their back against the wall and they just kind of keep answering. So like your point, I agree completely. Like the defense is going to give them a chance to win these next 2 games and probably even a playoff game or 2. But if they're going to actually make a run, the offense has to do more. It has to do a lot more. I agree totally with that.
Yeah, credit to the offense though, because they are still perfect in the red zone.
Crazy.
You'd like more touchdowns, obviously,
For
but
sure.
you're getting points every time you get inside the 20-yard line.
For sure.
And not many teams can say that. So there's something to be said for that for Oklahoma. But, yeah, I mean, look, I think at this point we could expect John Mateer back for a second year. I think that's a good thing for Oklahoma, especially because ideally, like, you never know what's going to happen, in just this day and age of player movement and the transfer portal and all that stuff. But ideally, you'll have 4 of your 5 starting offensive linemen back between, the 3 freshmen and Jake Michael back for another year.
Mm-hmm.
That's something to build on. Xavier Robinson, Torrey Blaylock, both, potentially back as like the guys. Some of the receivers still have eligibility too. So there's an opportunity, spinning it forward, there's an opportunity for some real continuity on this offense going into a second year with Ben Arbuckle. But I still think you need a little bit more down the stretch here.
Yeah, no doubt. I agree totally with that. And on that point, let's kind of spin it forward as we typically do. They're 8-2. Okay, the everything is open to them. Obviously, at this point,
except for the SEC title.
The SEC title that's out the window. But you hate to say it, but in this day and age with the expanded playoff, winning a conference championship just doesn't have. You would love to win that. Don't get me wrong, that'd be an incredible achievement. But it just doesn't. As long as you get into the 12-team field, you feel like you've done your job, right? So the question now: how far can the defense take this team? Because obviously, again, they're 8-2. You've got Missouri coming in this week, and then LSU to close it. We talked about it a little bit, last week. Certainly, like if you can find a way in Tuscaloosa, nothing is a given here. I think that both these games, frankly, are going to still be close. And I don't think that while I expect Oklahoma to win these games, I'm probably going to pick them to win both these games. I don't think that these are just 2 gimmies by any means. And Bo Pribula might be back this week for Missouri, which is a huge boost to them. They were playing pretty good football before he got hurt.
Yeah,
LSU is kind of a mess, but you figure like they still got players, you know what I mean? And so we'll see. I think both these games are going to be close, but for you right now, where are you at with this team? And what's realistic? Like they just beat Alabama and Tuscaloosa. We talked about it off the top. You said it. That's as good of a win as anyone has in the sport this year. So you're kind of feeling like, man, if they can win these 2, maybe get a home playoff game. I'm not 100% sure they'd be in great shape, but it's not a given. You need a little more help, I think, maybe to get to that top 8. But it's like, why can't they pile up some more wins and look up and maybe find themselves in a quarterfinal or a semi? Like, where are you at with this team in terms of just how far can this defense take them? And what's on the table for this team now as they come back home for these final 2 games, feeling like they are in the driver's seat to reach the college football playoff?
Yeah, I mean, they have the inside track to make it back to the playoff for the first time since 2019. Obviously, the first time since Brent Venables has been head coach.
Yeah.
Like you, I'm going to pick them probably to win these next 2 games. They open as a 10-point favorite against Missouri.
Our VIP members may not want us to, but
yeah, maybe we'll pick Missouri just for the shtick. No, but like they will be favored in both of these games. They opened as 10-point favorites against Missouri. They'll be favored against LSU. They have a real chance here for a second 10-win season under Brent Venables. Obviously that would put them in the college football playoff at 10-2. Undoubtedly, like when the rankings come out on Tuesday evening, they will be in the field.
Yeah.
We'll see how high they can get in terms of seeding, but with Texas losing, obviously they'll at least move up 1 spot. I think they have a chance to be ahead of Notre Dame, and if you're ahead of Notre Dame, you probably should be ahead of Alabama too, just because at 8-2 with a head-to-head win, and Alabama's got by far the worst loss of any of those teams with that season opener against Florida State. Like there's a chance that this team could be 8th, maybe 7th in the rankings on Tuesday. And when you're there and you win out, like you're talking about hosting a playoff game. And if this team is hosting the playoff game and the defense is playing the way it's been playing, like quarterfinals, I think are realistic.
Sure.
At the very least. And at that point, it's a lot of it's about matchups.
Sure.
Like who are you going to, which of those top 4 seeds are you going to see in the quarterfinals? Is it going to be Ohio State? Is it going to be Indiana? Is it going to be the SEC champion, whether that's Texas A&M or Georgia or Ole Miss? Or is it going to be like a, Texas Tech?
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it just depends on how the field shakes out. But at this point, I think this defense can carry Oklahoma to at least a potential first round home game and maybe further. So I'm just crazy how much perception has changed since that Ole Miss game. I mean, look, we talked about it before, but before the season, we talked about that November stretch and just like how unforgiving that was going to look. Obviously, South Carolina and LSU were much more well regarded before the season compared to the seasons that or not South Carolina, Missouri and LSU were a little bit more highly regarded. Missouri's back in the top 25, but still, like we were talking about that backstretch of the season. Not many people thought that they'd be able to go into Neyland and Bryant-Denny and come out 2-0. We thought maybe they had a chance to split those games, but to come out 2-0 is huge, and it just changes not just the perception of like what this team can do this season, but what Brent Venables has been able to build as a head coach. And I know a lot of people were down on him going into the year, obviously coming off of 2 6-7 seasons in his first 3 years. But I mean, he's developed these guys. He's built this program. Certainly, the defense in his image. If they can just finally get the defense and the offense playing a little bit more close to the same level, then I mean, it's really impressive what he's been able to build here. When he was maybe not on the hot seat, but a little bit warm coming into the season. Like this was clearly a make or break year for him.
Sure,
and it's been make.
Yeah, no, I mean it is. You're feeling like if they can find a little something more on offense, they have a chance to go far. They do, because the defense is just that special. And here's the thing, where they're still lasered in on this year, obviously, because there's a lot on the table. Everything's on the table for them this year in terms of getting the playoff. And then if you're in, who knows? Like you said, maybe they can even host that first round game, which that kind of gets you off and running. If you don't have to go on the road, which this team plays maybe even better on the road. So maybe you don't want to be on the road at this point. But it's hard not to think about next year a little bit too. If Mateer is back and Arbuckle's back, you mentioned all the returning pieces, because of this defense, it ain't going anywhere, man. They're going to lose some key guys, but there's going to be so much back. And the way that these young dudes have been able to make an impact, you envision that'll happen again next year with the guys coming in. I'm sure they'll make a couple portal pickups, just a couple. They don't need a lot, obviously, on defense, but just a couple like they did with Marvin Jones this year, a couple like that. And it's like, man, they're going to really be in position if the offense can take a step to legitimately compete for a national title next year. And they may be able to do that now, right? They may be able to do that now. What they did offensively in Tuscaloosa, probably not. But maybe, I mean, because the defense is just that good, So I'm with you. It's exciting. And the reason the home playoff game thing, it feels like if they go 10-2, they should get a home playoff game. But I just, when you kind of look at it, there's still a few teams kind of jamming them up, with Georgia and Ole Miss. And look, Alabama, I know they have 2 losses, and Oklahoma just beat them. So the thought that you would think, oh, they're going to be able to get in front of Alabama. Alabama's still going to play for the SEC title. And if they win that, there's no way they're not getting at least a home game. I mean, at least, if not probably a top 4 again, or getting a bye, if they win the SEC, So that's still a hurdle that you have to clear. So to do with the Big 12, Texas Tech, you mentioned them, they're in good position. Oregon, I think, is still in pretty good position if they don't lose. So like you still need, it feels like maybe in Notre Dame is potentially a problem. Like it feels like you still need 1 or 2 dominoes to fall to feel like you're going to get to that top 8. If they win, obviously they're going to be in the field, but to get to that elusive 8 spot and get the playoff game at home, I feel like it's still not a given necessarily, even though I think they should. They would have earned it. I just don't know if it'll actually break that way. But we'll see. There's a lot of football still to go the next couple of weeks.
I was going to say, like, look, Oklahoma still needs to take care of business. Like,
that's the thing.
Can't count their chickens before they hatch.
Yeah, right.
Like, you need to win these next 2 home games to ensure that you're in the playoff. And, we'll see how they handle success. Obviously, they handled the success well of going to Tennessee. They had the kind of bye week to settle back into things, but now it's right back in it. You're coming home. Everything is in front of you. But there's a lot of football to play for everybody else too, especially with rivalry week there in week 14. Alabama goes to Auburn, and the Iron Bowl is never normal when it's played at Jordan-Hare Stadium.
Yeah.
Now there's been like one normal-ish game there since 2013 when they had the kick 6, and that was 2015 when I think that was Derrick Henry just kind of running over everybody roughshod in Auburn. But like since then, it's like 2017 was a weird game. 2019 was a very weird game. I think that year was the highest scoring Iron Bowl ever that Auburn pulled out. 2021 was an overtime game that Alabama pulled out. 2023 was the Gravedigger fourth down play that Alabama managed to win. So things get weird in Auburn when Alabama visits there. Texas A&M still has to play Texas in the regular season finale. Georgia still has Georgia Tech. Oregon this weekend has USC
and Washington in Seattle.
Yeah. So there's a lot. Egg Bowl for Ole Miss. That is another game that is just never normal, no matter what's happening with those teams. So there's a lot of football left to be played and a lot of variables still moving around to see where kind of everything falls in this college football playoff field. But for Oklahoma, it's simple. Take care of business, and you are at least in the field. If you get a home game after that, fantastic. But you got to win out and make sure you punch that ticket.
No doubt. And it's funny, we were all kind of, us and other people on the beat, kind of chit-chatting about the possibility of if Alabama were to win the Iron Bowl but then lose in the SEC championship game, there's definitely a world where Oklahoma and Alabama meet each other again, maybe in Norman, maybe not. Maybe we're going right back to Tuscaloosa. I don't know. We'll see how it all kind of breaks out. Like you said, the theme is that there's still a long way to go. But for Oklahoma, you've got 2 winnable home games to get to the playoff. And the way your defense is rolling, I am expecting these last 2 home crowds to be sensational. I know it's 11 a.m. this weekend, and it's 2:30 for LSU. It's not a night game with we thought it might be for LSU coming in. But I'm expecting phenomenal home atmospheres because this fan base is starving to get back to the playoff. And, they can taste it. They can taste it. And this team can taste it. They're on the doorstep here of doing some really special stuff. So credit to Oklahoma. What a win. What a game this was out in Tuscaloosa. This was awesome. I give Neyland the slight edge in terms of just pure volume. I don't know if Neyland's ever going to be top. That was
Is it because all the fireworks? Alabama didn't have quite the firework display, but they
not even that. Just the vault, like the just pure loud. It was unreal. Tuscaloosa, though, a close number 2 for me in terms of the SEC trips so far in these 2 years. It was awesome. It was their third down music they played and stuff. It was like, oh man, it was a heck of an atmosphere. A lot of OU fans made the trip, and this was just watching it back this morning. It was really like kicking back watching it. It felt like it was live. It was like, what a football game this is. Just the swings. Great game. Great college football game.
Yeah, I think I mentioned you on the car ride back to Birmingham after the game, but it's like huge stadium. Obviously, it's a palace. The upgrades that they've done there are
it's big,
incredible. Yeah. When they do Dixieland Delight at the 2-minute warning, I think it's one of the like best like in stadium like traditions in the sport. It's like up there with obviously Florida does the Tom Petty thing. That's really cool at the start of the fourth quarter.
See that next year.
Yeah, get to see that. Tennessee's pregame might have been like one of the coolest ever. LSU with Colin Baton Rouge, all of that. It's like this type of pageantry is what you like to see about Oklahoma being the SEC now. Like getting to experience all of this stuff firsthand. It is just cool. And again, look at all these tight 1-score games. Like these games are exciting. That they're stressful for me personally as the one writing like the story at the buzzer. But man, like it's fun, man. Like it's just so enjoyable.
Playing huge games just every week in these crazy environments. This has been a blast to see. It's been an arduous season. It's been a lot of traveling, a lot of bigger trips than we're kind of used to.
Dude, I was so tired yesterday.
I'm tired, and I'm excited. I'm pumped. These last 2 games are at home for everyone because from the Texas weekend on, we've been on the move a lot. Not a lot of, just Ole Miss. That's it. We had Texas, we went to Columbia, now with Knoxville and Tuscaloosa. Like we've been kind of all over the place last month plus. So nice to come back home for a couple of big ones. And if Oklahoma takes care of their business, who knows where we'll be? Maybe we'll be back in Norman again, or maybe we'll be going out to Eugene or something. Like there's no telling, right?
That'd be fun.
That's kind of the beauty of the playoff, right? You get matchups that you never would otherwise get, so. Yeah,
give me Eugene over South Bend.
They both would be sick. I'd be pumped up through either one for just 2 of those places that you hear a lot about. So I'm good either way. But it'll be really cool to have it in Norman too, if that's the way it fell.
Well, for you, being in South Bend might be tough. Being on the field and being so cold.
I'm assuming I've just kind of accepted that no matter where we go, it'll be awful from a temperature perspective, unless they get lucky with like going somewhere in the SEC. But it's like I don't want to go somewhere within the SEC. Like we get to do that during the season. But yeah, South Bend or Eugene or whatever, it'll probably be pretty Lubbock. Oh my God, so windy. No, thank you. But yeah, it'll be cold no matter where we go. That's a given if they get there.
Yeah.
Let's quickly on the back end, just real quick, hit on hoops real fast. They lost to Nebraska and South Dakota. Gross loss, obviously. Now, full disclosure right at the top, Tom and I did not really see much of this game. Obviously, it tipped off right as the football game was ending on Saturday, right after the game. And they got to a great start. They led at halftime. So, we're just kind of keeping up with it as we're doing post-game and grinding out, videos and stories and stuff coming out of Tuscaloosa. But, Tom, obviously – they lose 105-99. So offensively it was great. Nigel Pack had a huge game, but defensively let Nebraska score 105 in regulation. Not what you want. And, it feels like we're kind of teetering a little. Panic button is it's I don't know if we're pushing it yet, but we're making sure we know where it is. This is bad. I mean, 2-2 to lose this game, and the fan base is, I think, rightfully upset. I think that's fair. This is a bad start. Long way to go. The season is not over by any means. Tons of opportunities still lie ahead, but bad start. I mean, to lose this game to Nebraska, disappointing on Saturday, to say the least. Disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, they just need to be better. Giving up 105 points, and Nebraska shot 56% from deep, something like that. You can't allow a team to shoot that well from beyond the arc and expect to win one of these high stake, not high stakes, but high leverage games, especially early in the season. And look, I think that, these guys are still feeling each other out a little bit. There's a lot of new pieces with all the transfers that they brought in, the freshmen, obviously. So pulling the panic button, I still don't know. We're 4 games into the season, but they need to play better. Obviously, you like what you're seeing offensively, at least from Nigel Pack, from Xavier Brown. Tay Davis seems to have found a little bit of rhythm these last couple of games, so I think there's some promise there. But again, Mo Agee needs to stay out of foul trouble. They just need more from him, and similarly, just they need to kind of ramp up Kai Rogers' development. To be able to trust him to play the minutes when Mo isn't on the floor. Because otherwise, it's going to be tough sledding in the SEC down low again.
No doubt. We'll see what happens. We had a couple of get-right games seemingly this week. Oral Roberts comes to the LNC on Thursday night, and then Alcorn State on Sunday afternoon. And then the next test is Black Friday. They play Marquette out in Chicago, and that'll be the next opportunity to flip some things. I mean, you assume they're going to win these 2 games barring disaster this week. They'll be 4-2 going out to Chicago. And it's like, if you can beat Marquette, it's like, okay, maybe you found your footing a little bit, because that stretch, it's kind of a sneaky stretch from the late November there with Black Friday game, 4-game stretch of Marquette, Wake Forest, Arizona State, and then Bedlam in OKC. That's 4 straight games where you're going to have to play well to win. I mean, those are teams that all can hold their own and certainly can beat you if you're not playing well. But, so big stretch coming up. They got a couple of games to work out some more kinks here at home, but of that 4, you think they probably need 3 of them, I would say. Maybe all 4. I mean, because you put yourself in that position when you lose to Nebraska. So we'll see. Still very early, but that was a disappointing. They had the lead at halftime, and we came in. Colin and I shot the instant reaction, and we came back to the room to work on some stuff and upload some stuff. And then someone threw out there, maybe it would have been our friend George Stoy at Sooner Scoop, said they're probably going to lose. They're down. I was like, what? What happened? They were because at halftime, I got to watch a decent chunk of the first half, kind of halfway during postgame, waiting for postgame start. They looked pretty good. I mean, they scored 51 in the first half of this game, but then you look up and they were down late and they lose. Kind of ugly, but we'll see. See how they respond this week, Thursday night against Oral Roberts. I think that's it. Awesome weekend. 2 weeks to go in the regular season. It made a very fun finish of the season. They're playing big, meaningful football games in late November, which is awesome. And we got a big week ahead of us. Player interviews tonight down in Norman. Venables Arbuckle press conference tomorrow. Colin Kennedy will be back with you on Thursday to hit on some recruiting stuff for these final 2 home weekends. And we'll hit on some other team stuff, of course, as well on Thursday. All 3 of us will be back for the game preview on Friday to set the table for Oklahoma and Missouri. And, of course, we'll be in Norman all day Saturday, giving you all the coverage of the Sooners matchup with the Tigers. That's it for now. For Tom Green, I'm Josh Callaway. We'll see you guys next time right back here as always on Sooners Illustrated.